Greetings viewers, I am Eric the Car Guy, and on this channel I am also known as ETCG1. How the heck are you? I've been on, I don't really want to call it a vacation, but I've been away, I've been out of town, and out of town specifically means I traveled to Los Angeles, California, more specifically Hollywood, California, to do some business out there. And no, it's not a television show, that kind of thing. I had some other stuff I needed to do, but that's not important. What I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about is some of the things that I learned on that trip, because not only did I make the trip, but I also had a little meetup out there at Barney's Beanery with a few people, and I'd like to talk about some of the things that we talked about the future of being a technician, that kind of thing. First, the cars. Let's face it, Southern California is like the car mecca of the world, in a sense. It's kind of where you go. And there were a lot of just cars that you just don't necessarily see that we're driving around. At least I don't see that many of them here in Ohio, but it seems in Southern California there are quite a few cars, and quite a few cars that are expensive and, like I said, unique. The reason I point this out is if you're considering a career in automotive repair and you want to get into repairing those type of vehicles, I would suggest going to a place like Southern California. Now, that is not to say that you will get a job working on this vehicle, because let's face it, they're not going to let just anybody work on, cars that cost $100,000 or more. So you're going to have to work your way up to that. However, if you were going to work your way up to that, why not be as close to them as possible? So look for major metropolitan areas, Los Angeles being one of them. Which brings me to another point about my trip, and that is I learned a lot about Los Angeles traffic, and I've got to say it's epic. In fact, it takes about 45 minutes to go 6 miles. And that's kind of the norm. And it sort of got me to thinking. In fact, besides all those, exotic, interesting cars, and one of the main reasons is because you've got like a 365-day-a-year driving season. In addition, you don't have salt on the roads, that kind of thing. So even older cars hold up really well. The cars that I saw the most of out there were two. Actually, and in fact, it's almost like if you go to Southern California, they hand the keys to either one of these two cars. And one of those was a 2013 Mustang. There were so many of those, virtually ubiquitous. It seemed like everybody was driving a 2013 Mustang. I think those taillights are kind of cool. I'm a little bit tired of the design though. I mean, it's kind of been like that for a while now. So it'd be nice to see something maybe a little different. 2013 Mustang, it seems like those were everywhere. And then the other thing I saw a ton of, Prius. And I know what you're thinking. We already had this discussion about hybrids on this channel, and we talked about, how it's not really working out, that kind of thing. Well, I'll tell you, Southern California, Los Angeles traffic, I would say I would want to drive a Prius. And I'll tell you why. Most of the time you're sitting. You're not doing anything. And what does a hybrid do when you're sitting and not doing anything? It shuts off. You're just sitting there listening to the radio, whatever. And then when you go to take off, if you're not like hammering it down, you're on electrical power. So really, if you think about it, the hybrid is ideal for stop and go traffic. I think that really is a good solution for that. So, one up for the Prius. If I wished I'd have had one. I went through probably a quarter tank of gas just sitting in traffic. And that quarter tank of gas would still be in my tank if I was driving something like a hybrid. So as far as hybrids go, they get one in the win corner for me as far as Southern California and driving around Los Angeles is concerned. Not as far as cool factor. So you got to kind of weigh that out. Am I looking to save money, or am I looking to look cool? Maybe you get both. Maybe you got the Jensen in the garage and you need to drive the Prius all the other times. But I did get a chance to spend a little bit of time on the Pacific Coast Highway, which was way cool, way cool. Something else I did is I walked the entire Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yes, all down Hollywood Boulevard and all up Vine. I think it all totals out to be about 4 miles, give or take, somewhere in that neighborhood. But there was only one star that I was interested in. And I did find it, and a picture of it for you here. Yes, the legendary Steve McQueen. Talk about a car guy. If you know anything about Steve McQueen, dude's a car guy. One of the original car guys. He had testicles the size of bowling balls. Seriously. So yes, I found him. And the other car thing that I did is I had lunch at a place called Mel's Diner, which is where they filmed American Graffiti. Now, they didn't film American Graffiti at this particular location in Los Angeles. They actually filmed that up in San Francisco, it's my understanding. The idea was to stick along with the car theme. And American Graffiti, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie, made by some guy named George Lucas, had some other successful franchise that he did. But before that, he did this movie called American Graffiti, bunch of cars in it. It's all about like 50s, 60s culture, that kind of thing. Ron Howard was in it. Don't know if you've heard of him. Opie. Used to have a TV show where they whistled a lot during the intro. All right, now that we've talked about the cars and some of the things that I did in Southern California, let's talk about the meetup a little bit. Andrew, Lewis, and Matt were kind enough to make it out. You'd think, all the people that subscribe to this channel, there would be more people that might have shown up. I actually wasn't, because it was during the middle of the week, and once again, Los Angeles traffic, epic. So traveling outside from anywhere, trying to get someplace like in the 6 o'clock hour in that place is going to be a challenge, and I knew it. But I had my hopes, and I was very fortunate that those three showed up. And one of them is thinking about going to school. One of them has been a technician for a while, and the other one's been a technician for a while, but all car people, obviously. But we spent some time talking that night about, my show and what they thought about my show. And also, in particular, we talked a lot about the business of auto repair. Because it's been coming up a lot lately. It's been a real concern of mine. We've been talking about it a lot over at the forum. And it's like, what do we tell the new technicians that are coming in? And we need new technicians coming in. We sort of came up with an idea, sort of a checklist. And a few of those things on the checklist are that all of us agree that the flat rate system is definitely not the way to go, especially if you're first getting into the industry. The flat rate system, just to sum it up, is basically you get paid flag time. And what flag time means is you write down on a little piece of paper, a little flag that you sticker to the back of a repair order, how much time you spent, well, not how much time you spent doing the work, how much time you're billing for that particular car, and that's what you get paid from. So, in other words, like if you do, like say, an oil change on something, you get paid 3/10 of an hour, roughly, give or take. 3/10 of an hour to do that oil change. So if that oil change takes you 10 seconds or 10 hours, you still get paid 3/10. And that's how that works. You're locked into a certain pay for different repairs. And every repair is sort of scheduled out in a book called the Mitchell Book. I believe there's some other labor times that you can get it from. The long and the short of it is you can work a 50-hour work week and be there 50 hours. But because of the flag hours, you might only get paid 30. Or maybe if you're lucky, and I haven't heard of a lot of this lately. Nobody's really come out and said that they've had weeks like this where they've been billing more than 40 hours or more than the time that they've actually been in the shop. And I think that goes back to some other discussions that we've had, but I don't want to get into that here. I just want to do a brief explanation of what flat rate was. And we agree that the flat rate system might need an overhaul, or might need to be done away with altogether, because it seems to be affecting how technicians work on vehicles and the attitudes they have towards that work. So if they've got a bad attitude going into a repair job, or they might overlook something, or they might look for more work, or they might overcharge, it's just, and we kind of agree that in a way it's kind of a way of employers getting around labor laws. So that's kind of the conclusion that we came to, and I actually think I'm going to revisit the flat rate system in a future video, but I don't want to here. I just want to basically talk about my California trip. But on the positive side of things, what we thought is that jobs in diesel are really growing and doing really well right now. Transportation diesel, heavy equipment, that kind of stuff. So if you're thinking about getting into the repair field, and I've done videos about this for the school that I used to go to with Rosedale and their diesel program. It seems like a lot of educational facilities are investing in this type of education, and it seems to be something that there's a demand for technicians in that field. And one of the things that we talked about was that if you could get in like with a fleet or something like that, because that means that you're not just working on diesel trucks is not like working on cars. You haven't got like everybody driving them around. You have like a company that owns a lot of those trucks that they need to maintain so that they can do what they do. The trucks are like one of their tools. And you, as the maintenance department, are there to service those tools and keep them on the road and keep them going and keep them profitable. Because when one of those trucks is down, it's super expensive for everybody. So they want to make sure that they're well maintained. So you're working on stuff that's a little more well maintained. It's bigger, it's heavier, but they're tools to help you out with that. And if you work smart, you can actually do really well. So my point of all this is to basically say to you, if you're interested in getting into the repair fields, auto repair may not necessarily be the only option. And you might consider something in the diesel world as another option. Also, I think diesel will become more relevant in passenger vehicles in the not too distant future, just because of fuel costs and things. Right now, here in the States, it's actually a little more to run diesel, so it's a little hard to wrap your mind around the fact that you're going to go farther by running diesel. Also the smell, that kind of thing. We had discussions about that in other videos. But if you're considering becoming an automotive technician, getting into the diesel field or looking at the diesel field might be a really good idea. Also, along with diesel, Ford, the Power Strokes. Apparently, they're needing people that are experts in Power Strokes. So if you're looking to get into a dealership situation, instead of getting into like a fleet situation, you might consider looking into jobs in the Power Stroke area. So just trying to help you out. Also, if you are going to get into the auto repair side of things and you want to do well, I'm not saying you can't do well like hanging parts, as we call it, like doing brake jobs, doing transmissions, doing engines, doing like heavy grunt work, stuff like that. You know, just general repair stuff. If you really want to do well, if you want to set yourself apart, and this starts from the time that you're in school, from the time that you start in school, like have a mindset for this. Look to electrical and drivability. The guys that are good at electrical and drivability do really well. The guys like Scanner Danner, the guys that can think like that can use a lab scope, you know, that have that type of ability. Not all of us have that type of ability, but they're needed. So if you have an inkling for it, you want to take a shot at it, take a shot at it, because that's where you'll make the most money, and that's where you'll have the most opportunities, I believe, as far as going out into the auto repair field. And one last thing about as far as getting a job. Sorry if I'm jumping around in you a little bit, but I wanted to get this point in. Getting jobs at dealerships have their benefits if you're getting into auto repair. Some of the benefits are like the education that's there, also the special tools, also the ability to many times call up a tech line. So if you're like really stuck on something, you can just pick up the phone and you call the manufacturer tech line, and you're talking to somebody at the manufacturer who is there to talk to you to help work you through a problem. That's something that you have at the dealership that you do not have at, like, say, an independent shop or something like that. The flip side is dealerships many times come with lots and lots of politics. And those politics, well, come in all shapes and sizes, and I don't want to get into that here, but it's definitely something to be considered. You can be in with the politics and things can work really well for you, or not so much. In fact, if you're a new guy coming in, it's more likely it'll be not so much unless you knew somebody there. So the alternative would be is to look to independent shops. Now, independent shops don't hire as many people because obviously they're smaller operations, and they don't hire as often because the people that are there tend to stay there a long period of time. But if you're out looking for work in the auto repair industry, yeah, look at dealerships because that's where you're going to make the most money. But you might be the happiest at, say, a nice independent shop with a guy who's investing in his tools, his equipment, and his employees. I was fortunate enough to work at one of these early in my career, and it was super, super helpful. And there was an extreme difference between working there and working at the dealership. Okay, now that we're done talking about my trip and the overview of everything and all the stuff that I learned and the meetup and all that kind of stuff, I just want to just briefly touch on what this has done for me, Eric the Car Guy, and how this relates to you. First of all, I was not able to be like at my desk and working like I normally do. Obviously, I'm a few thousand miles away. So I had to do things differently last week. I actually spent a little more time over at the forum every day, but I wasn't able to be there like for an entire day. But one of the things I learned is that it's gotten to a point where I am never going to catch up. And what I mean when I say that, as far as like the email questions and even the questions on the forum now have gotten to a point where I just can't do it all. I can spend entire days on the forum and entire days answering email, and I still don't get to the end of it. And I knew this day was coming, and I've worked very hard to make sure that the website could, quote unquote, run on its own. That's the reason why the forum is there, and even more so the reason why the database is there. The database is there so that you can search through all the answers that I've already given along with other people so that you can get answers to your automotive questions. Now, I've just been getting, and I continue to get a lot of direct email, and I will continue to answer it for as long as I possibly can. However, right now, I'm more than a month behind on those answers. So this leaves me like a kind of a conundrum, as they call it, or catch-22, and that means that I could spend a lot of time trying to answer everybody's questions. I could just start focusing on that. But the problem is, focusing on that means that I won't be able to do the videos, because I also need time to do the videos. I need time to shoot them. I need time to edit them. I need time to get the very things out there that brought you to me in the first place. And that's where I'm sort of running into a bind, where I'm spending just as much time answering questions in email as I am in productions. In fact, I'm spending more time answering questions in email than I am with production. And that's something, quite frankly, I'd like to change. And that's gonna be tough, because there are a lot of you out there that are looking for help. And I'm gonna continue to encourage you to go to the forum, because, as I said, I'm not the only one there helping people. But in addition, there's that search. And if you use that search, and it really does work, if you use that search, you will come up with answers. Now, you won't be able to come up with direct answers from me, yes, and you may have specific problems and all that. And once again, like I said, I'm gonna do my best to try to continue to do that. However, going forward from this point on, I'm actually gonna focus more on my production. I mean, I've got actually tons of video that has been shot. In fact, just everybody's been, well, I've had a few people that have been bugging me about transmission videos on the Odyssey. Well, I got over 30 hours worth of footage there, and that's gonna take at least that long to go through. Actually, you can figure probably it's gonna take about 3 times that much time to actually go through and get something out of all that. So keep that in mind. Plus, I've got a Chevy Sonoma back there in the back, means an engine. You guys love engine videos. I'd love to be doing the engine videos. And that's the thing, I can't be answering everybody's questions and doing these videos at the same time. I have to sort of pick my battles. And right now, the battle that I'm picking is for the videos. And I'm coming back, I've been thinking about it, I've been feeling like my videos they've been good, they've been fine. But I wanna make them better. I have ideas. I want to grow the production. I want to make them even easier to understand. I want to add more things to them. But in order to do that, I've got to spend some time pre-planning. I've got to spend some time on them to make that happen. So in a way, this is not really an apology. It's more of an FYI that if you're looking to get direct answers from me, like comments on YouTube, that's been out for some time. Direct email, more than a month behind there. Know that. So if you're sending me emails, it'll be a month or more before I get back to you. Forum has always been the best place, and that is where I frequent. I mean, it's my forum, and that's where I tell you to go. So I try to be there as much as possible, but that's the way it's gonna be from now on. I will be there as much as possible, but I'm not gonna be able to get to every single question. There's just way more of you than there is of me. And I thank you for that. I thank you for that. But what I'm trying to do with these videos is I'm trying to give you the tools so that you can solve these problems on your own. That's the bottom line. That's why I started doing this to begin with. And in a way, this trip has kind of given me perspective, because it's pulled me away from what I normally do on a weekly basis and put me into another place and another way of thinking. And as a result, I'm changing the way I do things going forward. And the way things going forward, I'd like to spend a lot more time with my videos and a little less time helping people individually with their auto repair problems. And like I said, I'm not going to apologize for that, because it's just something I can't help. But you know, where else are you going to get auto repair help for free? Take that into consideration, and you know, just give me a little bit of breathing room. But in the coming months, what I'd like to do is I'd like to start going back towards the videos. I'd like to get working on this transmission video. I'd like to get working on some of the other full-length videos. I've still got a D-series timing belt video that I need to edit, along with some other things that I'd like to get out. So, and along with a bunch of other videos that I've shot, just regular videos that I do during the week. So in order to do that, I'm gonna need to spend more time doing it. So, LA trip, it was epic. You know, in fact, I'm kind of a Southern California kind of guy. Now, I enjoy visiting, but I don't know if I could live there. And mainly it's because of the traffic. It truly is epic. So, I don't like to be that stressed. I like to kick back and relax. However, a lot of cool cars, just great weather. You know, I can see why a lot of people live there. Anyway, I am Eric the Car Guy. Visit me over at the forum, we talked about that. Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and I close with be safe, have fun, and stay dirty. And take care, everybody. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.